Scepter, and Scepter is 100% backed by stablecoins. It has a various mechanisms to ensure that the price will only increase. So essentially, when you buy it, there are a few taxes. So on the first first few days, you're going to be at a loss. But then, because there are different ways to increase the price, you're going to recover the initial loss and make a small gain, then a bigger gain, and so on. Essentially, there is a buy and a sell tax, and that tax is going to the treasury. So the tax is also something that goes towards increasing the price. Essentially, the price of Scepter is calculated in relation to the treasury. So if you want to calculate the price of Scepter, you don't go to a liquidity pool, which is how you usually calculate the price of a token. Instead, you go to you take the value of the Scepter treasury, you divide it by the number of Scepter tokens, and then you have the backing price of Scepter. Investors buy a bit above it, they sell a bit below it. The Scepter treasury, which is made of stablecoins, is invested, so it is farming. And we have a few different ways actually to increase the price, but essentially we are doing everything we can so that every stream of revenue that we could think of is used to increase the price of Scepter over time, to just increase the amount of money that is in the Scepter treasury. And the more money there is in the treasury, the more the price of Scepter increases. So this is basically as safe as a stablecoin, and it always increases in price. So it's not going to moon. You're not going to do a 10x or a 100x, at least not in the short future. But you're also sure that it's only going to increase. So this is what we mean by a safer way to do DeFi. The second token is Baton. The only way to get Baton is by burning Scepter. And Baton has a different treasury. And with this treasury, we have some stable coins, but we also have some blue chip tokens and native network coins. So it means some Ethereum, some Phantom, some AVAX, some BNB, and so on. And we do two things with these tokens. A part of it is going to be farming, and another part is going to be automatically rebalancing to outperform the market without taking some degen risk. A part of the rewards, we use them to compound. So the treasury is going to be growing over time. And another part of the rewards is going to go as USDC in airdrops every week to the Baton holders. So essentially, if you hold some Baton, every week you receive some USDC airdrops. You don't have anything to do. And given a stable market, the airdrops are going to increase over time. So this is a way to kind of have a safer and more sustainable version of what Node could have been. It also means that we're not going to deliver some 1, 2, 5, or even 10% daily return on investment like some of the nodes have done. But it also means that there will not be token dilution, or that, with the nodes quite often after a few weeks, it was burnt. This is not going to happen with Baton. So you have Scepter and Baton, which are low and medium risks way to benefit from DeFi in a very, from very safe to fairly safe way. Both are equally sustainable. And then we are working on some utilities, because both with Scepter and Baton, the value that we're going to generate for the investors is based on the transaction volume, which is which is fine for the beginning, but at some point we also want some external streams of revenue. It's also going to come from some investments, which is also fine. But at some point, we also want to find some other ways to push the price or the value of their airdrops that we send to the holders. And this is where SpaceDex comes in. SpaceDex is a DEX. It has a few particular features. The first is that it's cross-chain. The second is that you don't stake a liquidity pair. You don't have like AVAX to USDC or BUSD to BNB. Instead, you stake single assets. There is a partial impermanence loss protection on it. And the most important feature on it is what we call dual asset allocation. Essentially, let's say that we have 10K USDC on it. Instead of just having them farm, but also wait, on a DEX, most of the total value locked, most of the assets are just sitting around and not doing anything. So instead of that, what we are doing is that we are taking 80% of it and we are farming with it somewhere else. And we are doing that with a yield optimizer. So it means that if you stake some USDC or BNB or Spirit or some other assets on SpaceDex, you're farming on SpaceDex and on one of the protocols where we find that there is a good return on investment and a sufficient degree of safety. So essentially, you're having twice or even 3 times the average APR that you could have on another DEX, and a share of the revenues that is generated by SpaceX is going to go to the Scepter and Baton holders. So this is one way that WAND and SpaceX are related. Another way is that we are going to create a series of products on SpaceX that will increase that will make a more efficient use of the treasuries for Scepter regarding the stablecoins and for Baton regarding the automatic rebalancing and the farming aspect. So that's a high-level overview of both WAND and SpaceDex, how they work on their own, but also how they are related.
All right. Well, that was certainly a good overview. Seems very... Now, the first thing that comes to mind is you mentioned stablecoins. Now, that word just raises a little bit of a bell in my head. So is your liquidity, or basically, sorry, that's not the correct phrase. Is your stablecoin currently backed fully?
Okay.
Is it backed 1-to-1?
WAND has not launched yet. So for now, I'm going to answer in the future. WAND Scepter itself is not a stablecoin, but it is going to be backed by other stablecoins. We're going to have a basket of stablecoins behind it. We are creating some safety profiles depending on the different stablecoins. For instance, BUSD and USDC are the most stable ones. Then we have some other stablecoins that are not backed by dollar, but that have a good track record, like DAI or FRAX. And then behind it, you have some other tokens that have some reasons to believe that they will do well, at least in the foreseeable future, such as USDD. But it's also an algorithmic stablecoin like UST was, so there's also some concern regarding it. I don't want to go too much into detail about USDD today, but essentially they have some mechanisms that are similar to what UST had, which are not so stable, let's say. But they also have a lot of backing behind it, aside from their like a different mechanism as well. So it is going to be 100% backed by stablecoins, and we are going to diversify our basket of stablecoins to minimize risk.
All right, that's good to hear. You mentioned SpaceX needs many forms of revenue stream. Are there any revenue streams that have currently yet to be deployed, or have you already got all of your ducks in a row?
So we haven't launched yet. So that should answer your question quite well, I suppose. We haven't launched either Wand or SpaceX. Wand, the pre-sale is on August 31st. The launch is on September 2nd. And for SpaceX, we are working on it. So the website is almost done on the design side. The code is being worked on, and we expect a launch on October. The seed funding is still open for SpaceX. So this is where what we're looking at is basically we want to launch Wand. We want to have like around 1 month, 1 month and a half later, SpaceX that comes in, and we want essentially that the marketing campaign with the SpaceX, as well as the higher amount of TVL, then comes in and benefits Wand. There will also be a possibility to invest just in SpaceX without touching to Wand, of course, and it's going to be a fully functional product in itself, and it's going also to benefit from the Scepter and the Baton Treasury, just by providing some TVL, which is always necessary for a DEX.
All right. So are you, I guess the next question I have is, are you confident, even with such a thin, let's say, thin amount of liquidity currently circulating in DeFi, are you confident that you will still be able to perform even if your launch numbers don't necessarily meet expectations?
So in terms of Wand, if we have sorry, there is a cat that's going a bit crazy next to me. In terms of Wand, if we have a TVL at launch that is below our expectations, it also means that increasing the price of the Scepter token after we launch is going to be easy, because at least at first, what is going to push the price up is the ratio between the transaction volume and the TVL, because of the taxes. So if we have less TVL at launch, then every buy and sell after we launch is going to increase the price faster. So we do want a significant amount of TVL at launch. It's going to be to just give us some kind of just a better image that okay, it's a successful launch, so we want to get in. But if we don't meet our expectations, it's also going to benefit the holders long term. So it wouldn't be actually too bad. For SpaceX, well, it's going to be in October, so hopefully the market will have changed to some extent. Obviously, if the market is still the same or bleeding, like I expect that there will be a dump in the coming weeks, essentially. If it's still the case when we launch SpaceX, we are going to have less TVL than what we wish. However, we're also going to have a good APR on our single asset staking, which means that whenever we get to some yield aggregators like Beefy, AutoFarm, and YieldWolf, and so on, investors are going to see that they can stake single assets on a protocol for one of the best APRs that is sustainable. So when we've launched and when we have the first partnerships coming in, I'm not so worried about us not getting the TVL that we want. Another thing, and coming back to Wand, is that we're going to have we're working on basically on an amazing DApp, because usually if you want to see the charts, you go on Dex Screener and you type the name of the token and you get it. But because we are not tradable on a DEX, we are only tradable on our DApp, you cannot go on Dex Screener. Just to offer a lot of visibility about the token and some transparency, we're making a DApp that is going to display in real time the price of Scepter, the buy price, the backing price, the sell price, that take into account the taxes. We're going to display everything that as an investor you may want to see. And on this DApp, you're going to see the evolution of the price that will increase every single day. And I think that this is essentially this will be our best marketing tool, because you're going to see on a beautiful chart exactly how much the token is appreciating every single day. And I think that when the market is uncertain, seeing a token that appreciates in price a little bit, not too much, but still every day it's a bit higher, I think that it can attract a lot of investors. So we are not looking too much short term, but more medium and long term. We are like this AMA, of course, is part of our marketing actions. So we are doing quite a lot to have a successful launch, but we're also looking at things more long term. And of course, I don't know when we're going to go from a bear to a bull market. But when we get to this bull market, we will have like some very strong fundamentals. And I think that the community will see that we have performed quite well in this bear market. And then in the next bull run, we will be in a good position just to attract even more investors and really benefit from the increased volume.
Very nice. So this is a pre-seed AMA. You said you're still looking for seed investors. So let's talk tokenomics. Since seed is well, in this group at least, is a lot of what we deal with. So what kind of tokenomics model are you looking at for distribution for seed, for just in general, actually, not even just for seed investors, but just what does your tokenomics model look like?
Okay, so this is for SpaceDex only. For Wand, we have already done the seeding and now there is a whitelist,
Yeah.
but go back to SpaceX. So if you buy some space tokens, essentially there will be up to 2 million tokens minted. And all of them will be either in the wallet of some investors or in the liquidity pair at launch. So we don't have a huge reserve of tokens that we are going to use to boost some farms or anything. This is not how we do things. All the tokens will be basically on the market at launch. So this is a fixed supply. You can have it and it's going to be a deflationary token, so you can just hold it and then expect that the price will increase over time and then you sell it whenever you want with the profits. Or the other option is that you take your space and you lock it for VE space, and the VE space holders receive 10% of the revenues generated by the protocol. We expect that it's going to be a fairly significant APR. Of course, it's also going to depend on how many investors lock their space for VE space. And I don't have the answer to that question. This is actually one of the big questions in tokenomics. but still we expect that a fair amount of investors are going to do that, and a fair amount of investors are going to do that. And because you need to buy space before you can lock it for VE space, that will create a significant amount of buy pressure on space, and this is going to drive the price up quite significantly. So yeah, this is essentially how we're going to create value for the seed investors. Now there is a reason why I think that that there will be quite a lot of revenues generated, and it comes back again to the dual asset allocation. We are going to we're going to have 0.25% of fees on all the swaps and the bridging. So this 10% of those fees are going to go to the VE space holders, but also 10% of the revenues generated by the dual asset allocation. So 10% of what we earn by farming on another platform is also going to go to the VE space holders. So essentially, it can become a fairly significant amount of money for the VE space holders, and that's the basics of the tokenomics for space DEX.
Okay, so seed is, you're saying the benefit that seed gets is is there like a sort of a discounted on market, or?
Yeah. If you buy at seed, you buy at a 50% discount.
50%. Okay.
Yeah. The space tokens that you get are invested linearly over a 6-month period, which is partially offset by the fact that you don't have to wait 6 months before you lock it for VE space. I should also mention that if you lock your space to get VE space, you cannot unlock it. You can sell it with a 20% buy and sell tax. So there will be a fairly significant loss there, but it's essentially something that you should treat like an node. You buy your space, you lock it for VE space, and then you enjoy the passive income that comes from it.
All right. Perfect. So I think that's about all the questions I have. So we can take it to anybody in the audience who wants to ask a question, which we have one here. I can just find it. We have too many channels. There it is. We have a question that says, will the wand will the DApp be available on the testnet before launch?
So that's actually a good question. We haven't discussed it yet, but I will mention that we are going with two audits, one by Certic, the other one by Prisma Shield. The results with Prisma Shield are out yet. There have been some changes made to the contract, and they are very happy with everything now. The contract has been sent to Certic with the changes made following the Prisma Shield audit. But I am happy to make the DApp available beforehand as well.
All right. Well, there's your answer. Got audits coming and a willingness to provide the DApp before launch. Anybody else have any questions they would like to get in here? Check the other chat real quick.
I can mention that generally speaking, I'm not very comfortable making some predictions with numbers because I don't know how investors are going to behave. I don't know what the market will be like in a week or a month, let alone in even more time than that. But we do have a simulator for one. I felt that it was necessary for us to build that simulator, which is an Excel spreadsheet that is publicly available. I felt the need to do it because I want investors to be able to make their own assumptions about how much volume there will be, what is going to be the APR for what we are farming with, and so on, so that they can have an idea about how much money they're going to earn, whether they buy some Scepter or hold some Baraton tokens. So it's something that you can see in the link tree in my bio if you're interested to look at the one simulator. It's the last link in the link tree. But essentially, it's important for us that investors can make some educated decisions, that they can do their own research before making any form of investment. And I think that essentially what we are trying to do is to have some kind of 360% DeFi space, in the sense that with Scepter you have this very safe investment that is backed by stable coins. With Baton you have some stable coins, some native network coins, some blue chip tokens, so it's more medium risk. And with the space you have the potential for, I would say, much more gains, but it's also going to be a small cap token, so there is also much more risk. So we want to provide this kind of whatever part of your portfolio or whatever kind of DeFi investor you are, we will want to have some kind of offer for you.
All right, we have another question here. What percent of Scepter will be backed by BUSD and USDC, and what percent in other stables?
So we don't have the numbers yet. I reckon that we're going to have, let's say at least 50% that is by tokens that are themselves backed by stablecoins. So it applies to BUSD, USDC, USDT to some extent, and DAI, which in itself is backed by a fair amount of USDC as well, although they may sell it for some Ethereum, so I'm not fully sure about that one. I say at least 50%, and I don't think that we're going to go below it. But you should know that it's not me who takes all the decisions. We have a system that is very much community centric. So a lot of the important decisions are made with the governance council. They are elected by the community. And for the most important decisions, they are done with the vote with the community. So this percentage can change, but we are more on the side of safety than on the side of risk.
All right, good to hear. Does anybody else in the audience have any questions they would like to ask before we go do a quick recap? Let me just take a look here. Anybody else got anything for us? Going once, going twice. Okay, so so a quick recap of events here. You said you were going to have Wand launching ideally in September, you said?
So the pre-sale is on August 31.
Yes.
The launch is on September 2. And yeah, I mean, everything is ready for the launch. So essentially what we want is mostly that people come back from holiday and then we launch.
Yes. So 2 weeks until the Wand pre-sale, and then 3 days after that, the actual token launch. Let me just take a real quick look at that is not the correct chat. And then you want to have Space Dex launch a month and a half after.
Yeah, we want to give Wand a bit of time. I've also discussed with the developers, and for them it's a realistic time frame. So it's actually them who told me how long they need to do it. And yeah, the idea is that one should live a bit on its own, have some transaction volume to just increase the price of Scepter, have good investment with Baton, and then kind of transition from a model where the price appreciation comes from the investor to a model where it comes from the performance of our products and the future products that we're going to offer.
Okay, we have one more question here. What do you expect the whale proposal to do to the token price?
So yeah, the whale offer, this one is on August 25. It's any investor that wants to buy for at least $25,000 worth of Scepter tokens can use this offer. With this offer, the investors can buy at a pre-sale price for 60% of their bag, and the other 40% is something that they will use to pay Scepter tokens at market price at least 36 hours after launch. What it means is that as an investor, they will buy with the majority of their bag at a preferential price. So for them, it's a good deal because they are sure to have the best price on 60% of their bag. Then we have the launch because it will add a bit of volume. The price will increase slightly less rapidly at launch because of this ratio between transaction volume and TVL. But then the whales are going to buy with the 40% remaining of their bags after 36 hours, and that will push the price of Scepter up. So it's also going to be an incentive for investors to buy within the first 36 hours. And it will also add some more volume on the second day, which is, usually you have the launch. Most of the purchases are on the first day. So with this model, we want to kind of spread out the purchases over a few days instead. So I expect that it's going to be a win-win for the world that has been able to buy quite a bit before launch, and for the smaller investors who are sure that there will be some purchase after them as well.
All right. Another question here: How big will the liquidity pool be at launch?
So there is no liquidity pool, and there will not be a liquidity pool for Wand, because the Scepter token is not something like, if you're on a liquidity pool, the price of your token is determined in relation to between the ratio between your token and the other token of the liquidity pool. So essentially, that's how the market sets the price. It's through a liquidity pool. But with the market price, the price of the token, it can go up, it can go down, and it's not something that you have much control over. And because we want Scepter price to go to increase every single day, we had to find a way to not really follow the laws of economics, or at least the laws of the economics in the free market. We wanted more control over the price, and that's why we are not using a liquidity pool, but instead we are using this smart contract that is calculating a price based on the ratio between the value of the treasury divided by the number of Scepter tokens.
All right.
It's also a protection against bots, because bots target the liquidity pool, and if you don't have a liquidity pool, the bots are lost.
Right. Yep. Hate those bots. Bull market. I still get PTSD from botting during the bull market.
It was horrible.
Oh yeah. Quick recap here. We have the Wand pre-sale on the 31st of August, followed by the launch 3 days later. We have the SpaceX launch a month and a half after the Wand launch. Pre-sale, you said pre-sale for Wand is still available, I believe.
Yeah.
And the seed is still open for SpaceX. So
Yes, as well.
yes, so we can have our discussion about that here as a gray market collective. Is there any other key takeaways that you would like to let our audience know, both here and YouTube?
Yeah, so it's more about our long-term vision. We want to develop some utilities after we launch, of course. And the reason for SpaceX, as I mentioned, is to kind of generate some revenues for the Wand treasuries. But we also want to use SpaceX to use Scepter as a collateral, which I think is a great asset to use as a collateral because its value only increases. We want to make it purchasable cross-chain because SpaceX itself will be cross-chain. And we want to develop some suites of utilities for the farmers. Our main idea for Wand and SpaceX is to make DeFi simpler, easier to use, to automate whatever we can. For instance, we want to make some strategies for leverage farming, which may not be a good idea for certain assets, but for stablecoins, it's something that you may want to consider doing. We want to automate some delta neutral farming strategies, some ETFs and so on. So we're going to develop some suites of products around each small product that you're going to see in the weeks and months after the SpaceX launch. You can expect a full suite around it, like kind of a hub around the product. So we have a fairly long-term roadmap. I would suggest that you just take a look at what we have on our Discord at the moment. We're going to enrich it as well. We have a partnership with Godbit, who helps us reach out to some VCs. And we are working on kind of a professional pitch deck that will sum up things fairly nicely if you're interested in the tokenomics in a way that's very easy to see, fairly visual, and also the long-term roadmap.
So quite a lot in the tank for Wand and SpaceX then. This is definitely something.
Yeah.
This is definitely something to be keeping watch this space, so to speak. So that's I believe, unless anyone has any other pressing questions, that is going to conclude this AMA with Ylchema of Wand and SpaceX. As a reminder to everybody here, this I forgot to say at the beginning of the AMA that none of this anything we talk about here should be considered financial advice. It is all for education and entertainment purposes, and to keep your guys keep an eye out on good projects that we think have potential, and Wand and SpaceX are no exception. So we will have our discussion here in the market. We will definitely be in touch about potential seed opportunities here while you guys get everything ready for your launches. A quick look. Evil Cupcake, El Marble, thank you guys for being here. Yeah, aside from that, I believe that is all she wrote. Ylchema, if you want to just do a quick outro for yourself, your role in the operation.
Yeah, essentially I designed the tokenomics for both Wand and SpaceX with a lot of back and forth with the other members of the extended team, like including the governance council, for instance. I'm CEO for both projects. That's basically a management position. And the other thing is that because I have this kind of high level vision around everything that we do for both projects and our roadmap, it just makes sense that I would be the one doing the AMAs and so on, because I have done some AMAs with people who did not have full visibility over the project, and it can be a bit dry sometimes. So yeah, that is my role in both Wand and SpaceX, which is quite a bit of work. And well, I'm glad to be very much supported by people such as Evil Cupcake, who's here. If you have any question, don't hesitate to either DM one of us or come over at the Wand and SpaceX Discord. You'll see that there is always a warm welcome for any kind of question that you may have. And like Meta said, education is important. So do your own research before any kind of investment.
Yep. As always, please do your own research, invest responsibly. Ylchema, thank you for being such a wonderful guest on this Gray Market AMA. The team will be talking, and we will certainly be in touch. Thank you to the audience, everybody here and on YouTube, for watching. Expect the video, if any of you guys didn't get to catch the whole thing, to be up in about 1 to 2 hours. And yeah, that's about all I got for here. So thank you guys for all being here, and we'll catch you on the next AMA.
Thank you so much for the invitation and for the great questions.
Absolutely.
Have a good evening.
Take care.
Bye-bye.